Hello. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. It is May 23rd. I can't believe it's the holiday weekend already. It's kind of crazy. Um, Anybody have any fun plans over the weekend? Here in Chicago, the weather is kind of nice. I actually got on golf today. That was fun. Anyway, there's a lot to cover. I was supposed to have a special guest on today, and I just tweeted about it, but it's gonna be Joe with Network Bits, but he got tied up with work, so he's working late. He's on the West Coast right now, so he's not going to be able to get on. But we still have plenty of stuff to cover, and I wanted to do it a little bit later today. I know it's Friday, so I figured people might be on a plane to Palm Springs. Says Bob. What's up, Bob? I like Palm Springs, man. That's awesome. What are you doing out there? Just out there for holiday weekend, seeing family, or what? I'm actually going to be heading up to Washington. Well, I'm going to Vegas next week, and then I'm going to Washington State the week after that for my niece's high school graduation. I have some siblings that are much older than me that are up in their 50s. Actually, I have a lot of siblings. I actually have 6 siblings. Can you believe that? Some of them are half siblings, but we were raised as if we were all full siblings. Coming from Seattle. Nice. I'm actually going up to just outside of Bellingham for my niece's graduation. They're up. Blaine is the town right next to the Canadian border. So we go across the White Rock sometimes. It's a good time up there. I love Pacific Northwest, man. It's a great area. I assume you live in Seattle. So pool and family. Hey, man, that's the best. That's the best, man. Spending time with your friends and family. It is the holiday weekend. You got to take a break sometimes. You can't be going at it all the time, you know? By the way, guys, I found that clip on that from Ariel yesterday. So I'm gonna play a segment from that. I hope I have it on the right. Anyway, okay, yeah, I have it in the right place. It's so the Solana breakpoint clip. It's like the full 6 hours. So like I had to find the exact part that I wanted to play on there. But of course, I always start with the quote of the day, guys. It's a good one. It's a good one today. Obviously, we woke up this morning, and yesterday everyone's like, "Yeah, things are amazing. Bitcoin's at new all-time highs. Alt season starting." And then, Trump woke up and he chose violence this morning. He's like, "Nah, nope. I am not in a good mood today. I'm just gonna talk about tariffs and everything." Crash. Man, he really keeps you on your toes, doesn't he? Anyway. Here's the quote of the day, guys. Here's the quote of the day. The true measure of success is how many times you can bounce back from failure. If that isn't true, wow. I'll tell you what, man. It is. There's always going to be peaks and valleys, and we've had a lot of the valleys recently in the markets. But I'm just saying, like, I think we are in the right place at the right time. You always have to zoom out a little bit and look at the big picture here. And man, if you persevere through the hard times, then you can truly appreciate when things are better, right? And I think we have some really good times ahead of us. But there's certainly going to be some peaks and valleys. Okay, there's going to be, I think, a lot of instability, particularly until the tariffs get sorted out. And I think in general, we've never had a president that can, just decide to wake up one morning and send out tweets and like move the market trillions of dollars in either direction. And that's the one thing. I mean, I've talked about this a lot this year. Is like the only thing that's certain right now is that we should expect uncertainty, and it makes it really, really hard to play the market when that's happening. But all you can really do is, DCA more aggressively when there's fear in the market, and, lock in some profits when the market's getting overheated, really. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Let's get it. I'm not going to do a ton. I was just on yesterday, obviously, but I do want to play that clip from from Solana Breakpoint. Now, one of the things that Ariel mentioned was that they're getting a lot of interest from traditional finance investors, which is something they didn't see before. He's talking about how under the last administration, people were kind of steering clear of crypto altogether. And the type of VC funding that they are getting before, a lot of them were really just trying to take advantage of the 4-year market cycle. And it seems like now he's like, people are kind of banging on our doors right now from traditional finance VCs, and they're looking at DePIN in particular. And the other guy on stage, I'm not sure what his name is, but I do want to play a clip. They are both on stage at the same time, but I do want to play this for you guys because I think this is a really solid take. Let's see. Hopefully it starts at the mark that I wanted it to. Oh, come on. If not, I know exactly where it's at. It's at 5 hours, 15 minutes. We'll just reload it real quick. So it didn't want to play there. Oh, man. One second. Let me get this for you. Sorry, guys. I had it pulled up. I don't know why it didn't save it, the marker that I had it at, but I know exactly what marker to put it. All right, we'll just play from here. Okay, here y'all go. So, okay. So basically, these big companies in huge sectors are seeing DePIN now, and they're like, hey, we can build out our infrastructure in a much more cost-effective way. And I think this is a huge shift. And one of the things, I've talked about a lot over the last few months, especially since we saw the market kind of fall out in January following the inauguration, is that we really haven't seen the alt season that we saw back in 2021. And I think a lot of that is because the market cycle has been mostly institutional investment. Now the altcoin season that we've kind of seen has been like full degen mode, where it's been meme coin investors. I do think that DePIN is going to be able to really attract traditional financial investors that are looking to get into the crypto space. And I think there's a couple major catalysts that's going to lead the charge there. Number one is the stablecoin legislation that's going to bring a ton of new capital in. I'm going to talk more about that, later in the show. But the other thing is, I think the Solana ETF. So I think those are two things that could really bring in a lot of new money and people that are business savvy. The full degen investors don't get it. They're not looking at the business case. They're not business savvy. They're looking to play in the casino, and that's fine. Okay, that's totally fine. But I think DePIN, they're going to be able to look and say, okay, these are legitimate teams. There's a total addressable market they're moving into. They have differentiation. They're driving revenue. There's token burns with that. That's a lot more of a sophisticated take. And I think that type of investor and that type of money is coming into the space. And as that happens, I think DePIN is going to do really, really well. But unfortunately, this market cycle, we haven't gotten to that shift quite yet. And I think that's why, while DePIN's done okay, I think that's why we haven't seen a lot of them are undervalued. I mean, he's saying, I've been talking about it. This guy's talking about it too. He's like, look, it's incredibly undervalued. And they made the comparison to the last market cycle where Helium is a good example of a project that got severely overvalued, right? And now we're kind of seeing the opposite side of things. But I think we have a lot of reasons to be super optimistic pretty soon here. And I think we're in the right place at the right time. We just are a little bit earlier than I think we thought, and that's fine. I'd rather be early than late. So that's the main thing I want to cover on the DePIN side of things. There are some major things happening in the broader crypto space that I want to talk about. So let's bust into the broader crypto news. So the big news of the day is really that there are all these major banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and other major US banks are looking to create a joint crypto stablecoin. And I'm curious how this is going to play and whether or not people are going to be for or against this. And you can see it. People are saying CBDC, terrible idea. To me, I feel like there's a little bit too much centralization. Okay. Now, on the positive side of things, this would certainly bring a lot of new money into the space. But some of the stuff we're seeing, like with the Sui hack yesterday, and I brought this up, like, hey, if they're freezing those funds, how decentralized is it? And I think we're seeing with some of the big money coming in, with the ETFs, even with MicroStrategy, we're seeing a lot of centralization in the space, and I don't know that that's good, personally. There's gonna be a lot of lack of privacy. And I think we're kind of getting away from why crypto was started in the beginning. Now, on the positive note, new money's coming in, like that's a good opportunity to make money for sure. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that this is a good thing for the crypto space. So, you got to look at it from both sides. I don't know what you guys think. The other thing is Texas passed their own strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. It's the 8th largest economy in the world. Okay, it's like, I thought that was wild, and so I looked it up, and they had a $2.7 trillion GDP in 2024. Texas as a state. So if it was a country, it'd be the 8th largest economy in the world. That's remarkable. When will Saylor release his own Bitcoin-backed stablecoin? Yeah, like seriously. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about that. All those banks coming together, creating their own stablecoin. They're going to be in cahoots with the government on that, and they're going to be. It's basically, it is like a central bank digital currency, but they're just kind of wrapping it up so that they think they can pull the wool over our eyes and frame it as something that it's like that is not a CBDC, but it is. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that. The other thing is that the prediction markets are now seeing that Bitcoin is going to get as high as $143,000 this year. And that does coincide, guys. Like if you look at the overlay with global liquidity, it ticks right up to 142, 143,000. Obviously, this is looking, into the future, so we don't know what the global liquidity will do from here. I would imagine the global liquidity is going to continue expanding because we're going to talk more about the macro side of things, but like all these countries are going to have to just print money. People are not buying bonds. They're pushing money into Bitcoin. They're pushing money into gold. And I think these countries around the world are just going to print their currencies. And obviously Bitcoin's a hedge against that. And this is like, there's obviously the pullback today, but in the long term, in the grand scheme of things, like Bitcoin is going to go much higher. Will it have a pullback along the way? Absolutely. But it's just like, hey, Bitcoin's the one that you just want to DCA into over time and continue building. Like I do think that in the future, I was talking to my buddy who's a financial advisor today in traditional finance. He's like, dude, I just keep adding to my Bitcoin, and at a certain point, it's probably going to be worth more than his traditional finance portfolio. And it's crazy to think about, but that's where we're at with this right now. The other thing I want to talk about, there's a lot of XRP news today, guys. The first XRP futures ETF launched today. You also have the Dubai government launches a real estate tokenization pilot on XRP's ledger. And then you also have the euro went live on XRP today too. So there's a lot of positive catalysts right now happening with XRP. And this might be the biggest. Jim Cramer said that XRP will not reach a new all-time high during this bull run. So obviously that means that it will. And if you look at the price of XRP, it's been kind of just hovering in there. It's at $2.30. It's kind of just been trading sideways for a while ever since this big run up. I mean, what was this? Back in November. God, oh man, it was down at 50 cents. That's crazy. So it's kind of been hovering in this range. But shoot, with all the positive catalysts, like I think it can definitely break out, especially with Jim Cramer saying that it won't. And Ethereum is another one like getting a lot of investment right now. So 110 million from these three entities. You've got that. If y'all remember that guy that took out the huge Bitcoin 40x long and cashed out for a substantial profit, they entered a long on Ethereum. So we're kind of seeing this shift take place, right? Where Bitcoin normally leads the charge, and you start seeing the larger altcoins, larger cap altcoins start to get attention. Obviously, the stuff with the tariffs today kind of, put a brief pause on things, but this is what you see. And then you start to see the small caps, the lower caps start to pop off. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I think the tariff situation is definitely throwing a wrench in things, but things are moving in the right direction. Ethereum has had quite a run recently. If you look over the past month or so, we were down in like the 1800s, 1700s, and then shoot, we just popped up to 2500 and consolidating in this range again. So a lot of the altcoin charts look pretty nice right now. A lot of them look really, really primed for a major breakout. We just need the macro conditions to to play along with us for a little bit longer. Japan is buying a ton of Cardano. So this is something we talked about Cardano the other day on the live stream. I think people are either very much for Cardano or very against it. But it looks like Japan is definitely pushing a lot of money in there. I know there's a lot of big Cardano fans. Like I'm a Cardano holder. I don't hold a ton because it's pretty large cap, but I think they do have good technology, and I think they are making moves. And I know they have a really, really loyal community. We're at 74 cents. Obviously, in the last bull run, we got up to like over $3. Yeah. So all these larger cap L1s, I think, could certainly make a run. I talked about Avalanche a little bit yesterday, but they have a partnership with FIFA. So that's pretty big. And this is what William was talking about, is like a lot of these entities, institutional investors want to launch their own blockchain, and they can do so really easily on Avalanche. Avalanche is like going to be the big gaming blockchain. I think, this is one, looking into the future, y'all, like, I think we are going to look back and be like, man, we are in like the beginning stages, like Avalanche, all this stuff, like everything. We're going to be using blockchain so much. I think people are going to be like, whoa, you invested in Avalanche back in the day? Like, I really do think that's where we're at. Even though this is like this, just a couple of market cycles now, we're still early, right? I think these are going to be like household names at some point, where like people they're just like, yeah, I know what Avalanche is. This is interesting. So Trump had his VIP dinner with all the Trump token holders, and apparently it was very underwhelming. People were hoping for more access, maybe a Q&A session. I guess he came in and like gave a few general remarks and just left. So I think people are kind of bummed out about that. But someone said how embarrassing for them. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on the Trump coin. I wish it never had happened. Frankly, I think it kind of was like the beginning of the downfall for this market cycle. And obviously we're climbing back, but I don't think that it's good for the space. I don't think meme coins personally are really good for the space. I know people feel differently about that, but I just think people aren't going to take us seriously when we have, billion-dollar meme coins, and then we have like the real projects that just aren't getting any attention. It's crazy. Another thing Trump came out and said, the USA is dominating crypto, Bitcoin. We're going to keep it that way until tomorrow morning because because he decided this morning again that he was upset and that he was going to choose violence for the markets and um, make us humble again. I think that's one way to put it. Oh man, you gotta laugh about it. You gotta laugh about it. You gotta roll with the punches, guys. I mean, we have to go through these days, these pullbacks to get the 20-30% days that are coming in the future. So, it comes with the territory, guys. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right? Anyway, how's everybody doing this Friday, Bob? Hopefully you're having a good flight, man. Glad you're able to hop on here. Should we get into some macro news? Let's do it. All right, let's get into some macro news. So this news broke, and I'm really wondering if this is what pissed Trump off. So, as you know, Trump's been posturing for Greenland, and this report came out that Greenland agreed to a 30-year license with this Danish-French mining group. Essentially, they're kind of framing it as like the EU got this mineral deal, and Trump lost out. And I don't know if that's what he woke up. He's just super pissed off of the world. But I thought this was kind of interesting. So it's an eco-friendly alternative to aluminum production. Y'all, this book that I was reading, they talk a lot about how we're going to have a huge run on commodities soon and resources. And one of the things they said is that we're very likely going to have a copper shortage, and aluminum is going to be the alternative people have to turn to. And this is an eco-friendly alternative to aluminum production. So this actually could end up being a pretty big deal. Let's see. Yeah. And then he's like, I don't know if it's connected. Okay. I'll just say that much. But I talked about this a couple of days ago that hey, there's some rumors that the trade negotiations aren't progressing as much as they thought they would. And I think that's what's happening here. But basically he just threw out this tweet and he's like, therefore, I'm recommending a 50% tariff on the EU starting on June 1st, which is in a week. And he's like, thank you for your attention to this matter. That's his big thing today at the end of all of his tweets. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is what I have to say, and you're going to deal with it type of deal. And the markets obviously did not react very well to this information. And then the EU commission says that we're not going to comment on the U.S. trade tariffs. We need to have a call. And then Trump came out and said, because we were thinking okay, maybe he's just trying to posture to get them to the table to make a deal. And then he comes out and says, I'm not looking for a deal. It's set at 50%. They'll just build plants in the U.S. Dude, what? Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm all for bringing manufacturing to the U.S., guys. Okay, for sure, but you can't just build a plant in a week. That's just so ridiculous. Now, if you're hey, we need you to commit and to break ground by this date and to get manufacturing plants done by built by this date, and you have exemptions as long as you're hitting these milestones. Okay, that's strategic, but this shit is crazy. Okay, I don't get it. They'll just build plants in the U.S. and I'm not looking for a deal. And next week it's gonna be 50%. It's wild to me. Anyway, I digress. This guy's kind of funny. He made it funny, but he's like, Trump's first and third wives were imported from the EU. That's kind of funny. But he wasn't done there, guys. He wasn't done there. He said, any iPhone. I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple, I expect their iPhones that would be sold in the United States of America would be manufactured in the United States of America, not India or any other place. And it's not the case. The tariff of 25% will be paid on iPhones. So China has started to kind of shift their focus from manufacturing in China to India. And Trump's like, no, not today. So he's like, 25% tariff on you too. It's like, dude. And there's people like, uh, people are not very happy. I'll just put it that way. Anyway, obviously, Apple stock took a hit following that news. Not to be, that's not surprising. Not surprising. Man, it's like it gets exhausting. It's crazy. And then, oh yeah, someone was like, "Oh, so what? Like Samsung is going to be able to sell it for 10% tariffs, and Apple has to be 25%." He's like, "Well, you know what? That's a good point. In fact, we're going to do 25% on Samsung too." It's like a reality TV show, y'all. Oh my goodness, art of the deal. You know, some of this stuff, you have to really ask, like, okay, how much is this being just like shooting from the hip? And then Scott Bessent's over there, like, he's probably looking at his phone, seeing these tweets come up, and he's like, what the F, dude? Like, why? Now I have to go and like clean this up again. Oh, it's so crazy. Art of the deal. Question. I don't know. So there's some let's talk about this. There's a speculation as to maybe why he's doing this stuff. And it's actually, here it is. So it's funny you bring that up. Yeah, sarcasm intended. Yeah. There's some people, but there are some people that are like, they're like, hey, yeah, he's playing 4D chess. It's like, okay. But there's some people that are saying like maybe he actually does want a recession because it's going to achieve most of his economic goals at once, lower inflation and lower treasury yields, then lower trade deficit through tariffs. Fed can then cut rates and lower oil prices. And the recession may be the best solution after using inflation and free money. I'll tell you this much, y'all, and this is something they need to be really aware of. If he does that, you better believe that the Republicans are going to lose in the midterms. And I would guarantee if they lose in the midterms, the Democrats are going to push for impeachment. So I don't think that he's pushing for a recession. So maybe he is, but I highly doubt it. But that's a real, and people in his cabinet have said that, like, hey, if we lose the midterms, like they're going to go after his ass. And if that was the plan, Bessent didn't get the memo because he's out here like trying to clean it up. He's like, yeah, well, there would be more trade deals will be announced within the 90-day tariff delay period. And someone's like, hey, bro, you're not supposed to say that yet. We got to wait for the 10-year yield to come down. Oh, gosh. It's just, all of it's so crazy. You can only have the greatest day on Wall Street after you tank the market. Yeah, they all do that though. Like, he did. We had the worst day in the market and then the best day, and they're like, hey, we had the best day in the market. Same thing though with like Biden, right? When he got elected, they laid off everybody because of COVID, and they're like, we added the most jobs in history. It's like, yeah, but we're still like below the jobs before COVID. You just added jobs that were lost during COVID. Like, they all do that. It's funny, man. And then when it doesn't work, they blame the last person. And then when it's in their favor, they're like, yeah, that's all me. All of them do it. They're politicians. It's exhausting. The two-party system is exhausting. That sucks. That's one thing. Like, I hate the two-party system. I think most people agree with that. It would be great, not to go off on a tangent here, but it would be great to have a multi-party system, because I think there's so many voters that are like one or two issue voters. Whether it be taxes, whether it be, abortion rights, immigration, whatever it is, most people vote on one or two issues. And if you could have multiple parties where now all of a sudden, like, you have two or three candidates that agree with that one issue, now you got to dig a little bit further and like actually do some research, and you have more options. Our political system is pretty whack, honestly. Now you're starting to see these other things come out, right? Where it's like, okay, Volvo is saying, okay, with these 50% tariffs, like, we're going to pass that on to the consumer. We're also not going to be able to sell all of our vehicles there. Like the businesses are starting to fight. This person says, no one cares if Volvo can sell in the U.S. anyway. Oh, burn. But seriously, though, like in all seriousness, it is true. Like we at a certain point when tariffs are that high, like these businesses can't just eat the tariffs. Like it is going to be passed on. So we've got to hopefully they get something done here, and maybe he's just having a bad day. I don't know, a bad day that wiped out like trillions of dollars from the stock market. And the other thing, so in this new tax bill they just passed, so they're getting rid of the 30%. The 30% tax credit for solar is supposed to stay until like 2034. I think for like commercial leases, they're still available, but because I was talking to one of my old solar accounts, but for homeowners looking to like buy solar, yeah, that 30% tax credit is gone. So all the solar stocks got destroyed today. I think looking back would have been a great short opportunity, honestly, because I knew that was in the bill. But man, like they're saying that some of these are on the verge of bankruptcy, and these are big companies. Sunrun's like the number one solar company now in the U.S. for selling and installing systems with leases. Enphase and SolarEdge are both microinverter manufacturers. They're the two biggest in the game by far. So this is a huge hit to the solar industry. Oh man, the other thing. So the 10-year and the 30-year, man, it is just not pretty. They've got to get this down. The 30 years up about 5%. Like this impacts all of the lending in our markets, guys, like especially real estate. And we're seeing this right now. Like real estate affordability has never been worse than it is right now. So you even look back in 2008, like we are seeing the housing market just it's due for, I think, a major pullback, especially if rates don't come back down. And this is a crazy fact, but the median first-time homeowner, their age in 2007, it was 39. It's now 56 for the median first-time home buyer. So 17 years have passed, and like it has. I mean, that's crazy. The housing market's locked up. On one end, you have people that are in these low, 2-3% mortgages that they're stuck. Like they don't want to sell their home. I mean, that's gold, right? And on the other end, because there's no supply, and then buyers are like, well, I mean, I can't afford to buy that house because the interest is huge. When you look at like the monthly payment, when you have mortgages as high as they are, mortgage rates as high as they are, like it's very unaffordable. Short solar, long nuclear. I'd have to agree with you. In fact, I've talked a lot about this recently, but Trump's talking about putting some like measure in place to really ramp up nuclear. So those uranium stocks, mining companies, like they could do really well. That like 30% of like our enriched uranium comes from Russia. And I think right now we only have like 2 years worth of uranium to basically power our nuclear plants. So that's going to be a huge play. There's a lot of investment opportunities coming with nuclear, for sure. What else do we have? Oh man, I talked about this too. So like our banks are just look at these unrealized losses that our banks are sitting on. It's really bad. And it has to do with the treasuries mostly. I mean, it's also commercial real estate. Commercial real estate values are plummeting because not a lot of these businesses, like people aren't back in the office. Companies are downsizing, but also like treasuries. So a lot of these banks used to do like short-term duration treasuries and started going after longer term because the Fed basically promised them like, hey, we're not, the inflation thing, it's going to be a short-term issue. We're not going to raise rates that much. And then like, we're like, oh, actually, we're going to raise them more than any time in history. So all the treasuries that the banks are holding are majorly underwater, and the more these rates go up, the worse that gets. the unrealized losses are going to start really mounting unless they can get these rates down. So these rates really impact the economy in a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of stuff breaking right now. It's pretty concerning. I know I talk about it all the time. I don't want to be a doomsday person. Like, I'm still very bullish on crypto, and I think we're definitely in the right place, right? But the macro has an impact. Like, it could delay things to an extent, right? So I think it's important to cover all that stuff. That's what I got on the macro news. Let's see, what do I got? So there's one thing, a big story that I'm going to cover in the global news. Also, Trump. It's also very much revolves around Trump. So let's get into that. Oh man. So this is a big story right now. This actually broke yesterday, but President Trump blocks Harvard from being able to enroll international students. This is not just new students. This is also for existing students. So they're like yeah, you got to transfer to another school. That is wild. The reasoning they're giving, at least on their end, is it's a privilege, not a right, for universities to enroll foreign students and benefit from their higher tuition payments to help pad their multi-billion-dollar endowments. I believe that they do have a $52 billion endowment, so it's pretty sizable for sure. But they're basically saying like, hey, Harvard's accountable for fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with Chinese Communist Party on its campus. Okay, that's the reasoning behind it. There's some some rumors that's because Barron didn't get into Harvard. I doubt that's what it is, but I don't know. It's weird that they're going so far here, and I believe it's like 27% of Harvard student body consists of foreign students. So this is a massive deal. There is a judge that came in that issued a temporary block for now, and Harvard is suing the United States. So this is a big deal. We're going to see how this all plays out, but I don't know. I think this is like stepping pretty far here, in my personal opinion. Like, I don't really get political, and I'm very much moderate. I'll call things out on both parties. When I agree with things, when I disagree with things, I don't know that I necessarily agree with this. And then Scott Bessent came out and said that they're going to look to tax their endowment. So I don't know, man. We'll see how this all plays out. But this is a big story right now, and I think there's gonna be a lot to talk about it. So that's why I cover it. The CEO of Microsoft came out and said that as much as 30% of their code is being written by AI right now. This is going to be a growing trend. We're going to see a lot of layoffs because of AI. AI is replacing jobs for coders for sure, and this is going to be something we continue to see. This is a good development. So there is a prisoner swap which is completed between Russia and Ukraine. So that's good. Could this lead to something big? I hope so. We could use some good news. If this war ends and they get a ceasefire in place, like that would be really big for the markets for sure, and for people to stop dying. Because let's be real, like there's a lot of soldiers dying every week. I think it's like 5,000, which is needless. I hope they can figure this out. And the last story of the day: OnlyFans is in talks to sell itself at an $8 billion valuation. $8 billion. Yo, this OnlyFans model within a year, the last year has made $50 million. Wow. And you know what? People are seeing it. This is kind of a crazy stat and kind of sad, but it said that 1.2 million of the OnlyFans models are between 18 and 24. When you consider the size of that population, it means 10% of females from the age 18 to 24 on OnlyFans in this country. Wow. That is crazy. That's a crazy stat. But anyway, it looks like it's selling for $8 billion. Oh man, that's what I got for the show, y'all. So a lot going on. I think, look, I mean, you look at Bitcoin, like it did get hit. Where we at? Where are we at now? Let me just pull it up real quick. Where are we at on Bitcoin? 107.5. You know, people are like super upset. It's like, dude, we're sitting at $107,000. We'll be okay. Not to say we can't drop further, depending on what happens with the trade stuff, but I think we have brighter times ahead, guys. So we just gotta enjoy our weekends, disconnect a bit. Bob, have a great time with your family, man. Hopefully, all y'all have a great holiday weekend. Get outside, get your bodies moving, see your friends, see your families. Cheers, y'all.